Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, it's David here, and welcome back to another Atlas video. Today we're talking Metaphor ReFantazio. With everything that we know so far about the game, I have a lot of details for you guys. So much information came out after the latest trailer that was shown to us by Jeff Keighley at the Game Awards with ATLUS. That also showed up with Persona 3 Reload and another trailer. Absolutely insane. But ever since the show wrapped up, we got a lot of information about ReFantazio. It's kind of overwhelming, so I figured why not do some research, gather all the information that I found to be interesting in one single video, short and concise. At least that's what I'm going to try to do. So if you enjoyed it, a quick thumbs up would be a big help to show your support. If you're new to the channel and you want weekly RPG content, ATLUS and more, make sure you subscribe and ring that notification bell as well. I make these everything we know so far videos every now and then for big RPGs that we don't have a lot of details about but that people are excited for. Dragon Quest 12, 3 HD 2D, I'm about to do one for Deca Police as well, bunch of ATLUS games as well. I have one for Persona 3 Reload which is about to come out, so make sure you are here for that if you enjoyed the content. Now let's get right into it with Metaphor ReFantazio. So if you were watching my stream for the Game Awards, obviously we knew it beforehand that Metaphor ReFantazio would show up, which is kind of a bummer because I would have freaked out insanely if it was a surprise, right? But it was not. I still freaked out. So if you want to check out my reaction, you can check that out. Link is in the description. I was very excited for everything that was shown during that trailer. And Metaphor ReFantazio, if you didn't know, was revealed 8 years ago. It was revealed as Project ReFantasy, and if you think about it, the game was revealed before the original Persona 5 released, and now we have like 8 Persona 5 games out there, including re-releases and spin-offs. So that is insane to think about. The game now is confirmed for a fall 2024 release date for Xbox Series platforms, PC, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, no Switch version. That being said, now that it has a fall 2024 release date, I think there is a chance for a Nintendo Switch 2 or Nintendo's Next System version of the game as well, but that's not confirmed, and I've learned it the hard way. But with ATLUS, don't expect anything, just say there's not going to be anything, and if there's a version for Nintendo, good. The game obviously is being worked on by ex-Persona developers that are on the project. Guys like Shoji Meguro, which is a legendary composer at ATLUS, Soejima as well, which is a well-known character designer for the Persona series, and also Katsura Achino, which is the director of a bunch of modern Persona games. But regardless of that, ATLUS is still saying that Metaphor ReFantazio is going to be a very different experience. Now let's get into the story details that I found to be interesting here for ReFantazio. So again, it is said to be a more serious and more mysterious game than what ATLUS has worked on in the past, and I found that to be very interesting because obviously there's a lot of games in the ATLUS catalog, so I'm excited to see what they have in store for us when it comes to that. It is also being described by the developers as a fantasy drama RPG. Interesting. One thing that is now more detailed than it was before the first trailer was dropped, main characters are able to transform their bodies into weapons called Archetypes. You awaken an archetype by interacting with others and by being inspired by the actions of others. For example, if someone acts like a knight, by making a connection with this person, your archetype that resides inside you since birth will awaken. That is an example that comes from Katsura Achino, which is working on the game in a latest developer interview that ATLUS just published. Many people in the world are born with an archetype, but most won't awaken them through their life. So I assume we're gonna meet a lot of other people that are archetype users, if I can call it that way, obviously inspired by Persona here when it comes to archetypes. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. Now, Metaphor ReFantazio takes place in the United Kingdom of Hucronia, where the king was recently killed. The next king needs to be chosen by the population. Everyone can become king if they are popular enough. The main character gets involved in this election race to become a king. As the player, you will travel across the country to gather support for your election. Lots of different countries are here with 8 different races of people that resides them. The element of travel is said to be a critical element in this game, with tons of different environments shown in the latest trailers, and that is something that they say is a must, is mandatory for any game set in a fantasy setting. Very, very interesting, and you can see that in the trailers with a bunch of different environments being shown, all very varied, and I certainly hope the races of humans or just the races of characters that you will meet will also be as varied. That would be very, very awesome. Lots of characters obviously that we've seen, already some that we're hooked to. Stay tuned until the end of the video because we'll go over a brief description for each one of the characters, or at least the main cast of the characters. Now when it comes to the gameplay, just like in Persona, timing is important in Metaphor ReFantazio. You will have to take certain actions and take certain decisions before other events occurs. You'll get to make judgment calls that will certainly impact the course of the story. Will you jump straight into a dungeon? Or will you spend time working on side activities or level up your party members? This system, I'm sure, will remind you all of the calendar system from the Persona series, but it is said to be an evolution of the day-by-day journey of the Persona series by the creators of that series. Social interactions where you rank up social stats with your friends are also a thing in Metaphor ReFantazio, which we don't have a lot of details on that, but looking at what we can see in the trailers, you can level up those social stats or social links, which obviously is a reminder that this game is still taking inspiration from the Persona series or even modern Atlus titles like the Soul Hackers 2 that just dropped last year as of the time of recording this video, which also featured some type of level up system with relationships with your characters, party members more precisely. Now the one thing that definitely stood out when it comes to the latest trailer is the combat. The combat is a hybrid between action and turn-based combat, and that is absolutely insane to think about because that's not something that we see in a lot of games. The player will get the liberty of choosing if they want to partake in turn-based combat or just action-based combat. But hear me out. You're not going to toggle in a menu turn-based or action-based. It is more in-depth than that. I think a Noisy Pixel article here describes it in a good way. And quote, they're saying one highlighted feature is the action combat. Players will be able to shift or squad from action to turn-based on the fly, and it's described as an evolution of Persona 5's gameplay system. However, for Trails fan, which I know there's a lot of you all out there watching my content, it's also much like Neon Falcom's The Legend of Heroes Trails Through Daybreak's combat, known as Kuro no Kiseki in Japan. So if you played that game, Trails to Daybreak, I'm sure you know what they're talking about here. Basically, you get to damage lower leveled enemy and kill them just through action, but you can just lower the defenses or lower the HP of certain enemies that are, let's say, the same level as you or higher level, and then head into turn-based combat. But you will be able to choose in some way, which is very, very intriguing. The developers also said they would like to give us a worldwide demo of ReFantazio before that game comes out, and that is very, very exciting to me. Now we're going to go over to Persona Central for the end of this video because I want us to look at the character overview that they did and that they translated to English. I think it is very interesting. And fans of Atlus that have not played games outside of Megaton might be surprised to hear this, but Metaphor has a talking protagonist during main dialogue scenes, but also while exploring. That's not something that we see too often in Persona or SMT, but it is something that we saw in other Atlus games before, so not something totally new, still refreshing though. Alright, so here we are on Persona Central, and we're going to take a look at the characters, the main cast of characters for ReFantazio, because there is a lot of interesting information here. During his journey, the protagonist will meet and form bonds with people of many various tribes. We talked about that. Here's our protagonist here, which is a character that we will be able to name, because if you look at Atlus trailers, he's called Traveling Boy in certain trailers, but he's also called Atlus in other trailers. Very interesting. Together with the fairy Gallica, he embarks on a journey to lift the deadly curse placed on his childhood friend, the Prince of Urchronia. He is a boy of the Elder tribe, branded as a tainted people by the state religion who believe they have inherited dangerous and heretical magic. Being so rare among the populace, they are detested and discriminated throughout the kingdom. That is going to be very interesting, and I'm getting a lot of mature vibes from this story, like politics, religions, and everything. I think that is going to be very interesting. The fairy character that is accompanying our protagonist is right here, named Gallica, or Gallica, I'm not too sure the pronunciation here. Not only a traveling companion, Gallica is the guide who helps the protagonist carry out his mission to save the prince. Although she is too small to participate in battle, her knowledge of magic and ability to sense magla is superior to the protagonist due to her fairy nature. She doesn't mince words, but she is a reassuring ally on his journey. If you love Atlus, you love Atlus games, you know that in a lot of games you have a partner or a companion character, especially in Persona games, and that is clearly something that they are replicating here, which is a good thing. Stroll is a young man of the Clemmer tribe who meets the protagonist in the recruitment center for the state army. A smart young man with a strong sense of justice, he hails from a noble family, and yet it seems his circumstances are complicated, as it is rare for a noble to enlist in the army alongside commoners. So I assume you meet that party member in the army. The infamous Red Elf, which is a character called Hulkenberg, character that we saw in, I think, the first trailer, or at least one of the first concept art for the game, so very interesting to have more detail. A knight of the Ronse tribe and former member of the royal family's Kingsguard who served by the prince's side. Despite her young age, she excelled in the use of various weaponry and was assigned to the personal guard of the prince. But when the prince was attacked, she failed to protect him and set out to wander, carrying the stigma of this failure in her heart. Very interesting. And see, I mentioned how I hope the races are going to be very unique from one another, and I'm getting good vibes from this here. Haisme is another character, a former knight of the Hugif tribe. Oh my god, my French mixed with English, those words are impossible to pronounce, I'm sorry. He has acute perception compared to most others, due in part to the Hugif trait of being sensitive to sound. With an appearance that differs greatly from the other tribes, it's not uncommon for Urgifs to be discriminated against, and it seems Haisme is no exception. His past, his own burden to bear. Interesting character design here, love to see it, some rabbit looking character. And then we have screenshots here. Meet and bond with your followers. So here's the bonding system, or the relationship system that you have with a character here that we don't know much of. Your protagonist here, another character. So I'm wondering if you'll be able to bond with a lot of other side characters, or if it's only going to be the main party. Because if you look at Persona, it's only the main party at first, but then you get to explore other social links as well. When you look at a game like Soul Hackers 2, it's only the main cast. So from what we're seeing here, it is more like Persona. Interesting scene here on your ship, which that ship reminds me of Skies of Arcadia here in a way, so it's very interesting. And here they are showcasing the battle mechanics. So here are the smaller enemies. You can battle them with action, and then you get into turn-based. It looks absolutely insane, y'all. I'm here for it. Obviously, this is something that they cut from the trailer, so it's quick a little bit, but still very, very exciting here. So this is Metaphor ReFantazio, the first new IP in over a decade by Atlus. I am insanely excited for that game. I'm definitely going to talk about it some more whenever there's some new information coming out. Shout outs to everyone who sent me articles and interesting information about that game on Twitter and Discord. I do appreciate that. Thank you so much. And again, if you like the video, a quick thumbs up is a big help. Make sure you subscribe if you would like to have weekly content on role-playing games. Thank you so much for watching, y'all. Bye.